Hello dear students, welcome back again to Chinmoy's YouTube channel. Dear students, this is the second lesson of your 8th biology. So the first lesson, transport of water and minerals in plants, I think you have all gone through that lesson. So let us start without delay today's lesson, that is reproduction in plants. So what are the learning objectives of today's lesson? So today we are going to learn about reproduction. What is reproduction? We are going to learn about the types of asexual reproduction, the various methods of vegetative propagation, which is very important, and the various methods of artificial propagation. So if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel so that you can keep on getting the updates which I am posting regarding not only this lesson but also the other upcoming lessons. So till this part, till methods of artificial propagation, we will be discussing in today's topic, and in the next part we will be discussing about the sexual reproduction in plants. Okay, so please do subscribe so that you need to get updates, whatever I am posting daily, whatever I am posting as per your curriculum of 8th ICSE biology. Stay tuned, stay updated with all my lessons. So let us start with today's topic of reproduction in plants. So what does the term reproduction mean? So reproduction actually, it is the process of living beings to produce more organisms of their own kind. So they are producing more organisms of their own kind. Okay, so reproduction is essential for continuity and survival of the species. So whether they are plants, whether they are animals, for the continuity and the survival of their species, they need to reproduce more so that they can produce more organisms of their own kind. So what are the types of reproduction? Now here we are coming to types of reproduction. So reproduction is mainly of two types. One is asexual one and one is sexual ones. Now what is asexual reproduction? When the production of the offspring, we can say that asexual and sexual reproduction are two kinds of reproduction. So what is asexual reproduction? The production of the offspring, that is the new progeny, which is formed from a single parent without the fusion of the sex cells called the gametes, and it is called asexual reproduction. So in asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved, or one organism can give birth to the next generation, or give birth to the reproduce. Okay, so as only one parent is involved, the offspring has exactly the same feature as that of a parent. So the organism which is reproducing a new form, which is reproducing a new organism, the new one is same as that from which it is being produced. So it is the same as the previous, the single parent one. So only one parent is involved, and the offspring is exactly the same as that of the parent. So what is sexual reproduction? Now we should know that. Now what is sexual reproduction? Now sexual reproduction is actually when the two organisms of the same species, male and female, they are involved. So two organisms of the same species, male and female, they are involved, and each sex contributes to reproductive sex cells or gametes. So the male organism is producing the sperms, while the female, they are producing the eggs or ova or the ovum. So the male organism is producing the sperms while the female is producing the ovum or the eggs. Now the offspring is produced by the fusion of a sperm and an ovum. So both the sperm and the ovum, they fuse together to form the gamete. And sexual reproduction can be defined as the production of the offspring due to the fusion of the male and the female gametes. So what the fusion is happening between the sperm and the ovum. So fusion of the male and the female gametes is giving rise to the new progeny or the offspring through sexual reproduction. Now the offspring has mixed features of both the parents, and it's not identical to either of the parents. So as it is involving both the parents, both the male and the female one, so the offspring has a mixture of characters. So both from the male parent it is having, and both from the female. So some characters are coming from the male and some are coming from the female. So it's having a mixture of both parents, and it's not identical to only one single parent. Is it clear? Now here we will be first dealing with the asexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction we will be dealing in the next video. Now let us stress on asexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction, as we all know, it's a common in the lower forms of life such as bacteria, fungi and algae. So it is always very much common in the lower forms of life. So what are the types of asexual reproduction we are seeing here? We will discuss one by one in detail. Now first we are discussing here about the binary fission or the multiple fission. So first we will take the binary fission. So what is the term binary means? Binary means two, and fission means that is splitting. So one cell is splitting into two, that is binary fission. Now this binary fission is a simple division of a unicellular organism into two small daughter cells. Okay, and these daughter cells are roughly of equal size, and each daughter cells again they grow into individual adult. Okay, so this reproduction is very much common in bacteria and euglena. Now suppose see, this is bacteria, this is one bacteria which is a single parent cell. So this parent cell, what is it's happening? It is dividing into two daughter cells. It is dividing, so the cytoplasmic of this membrane, this elongates, and we can see the DNA material also it's getting replicated, and the cytoplasm divides into two along with the DNA material, which is being divided into it's being equally divided into two daughter cells. Is it clear? So two daughter cells are form one parent cell only, and the cell DNA replicates its DNA. The cytoplasm also breaks down and it elongates. The cytoplasm divides and the cross walls are formed, and these two daughter cells are formed. Okay, so this is the binary fission, and it is very common in bacteria as well as euglena. So this is the first method of reproduction through asexual reproduction. So next we will move on to the multiple fission. So how this multiple fission is happening now? What is this actually? Now we can say that during some unfavorable conditions, there is some organisms that develop the thick protective covering around themselves, which is called the cyst. So these cysts are formed. They are thick protective covering outside around themselves. So that is the cyst. So inside the cyst, the cell keeps on dividing repeatedly. Okay, so this, as the cyst is formed, inside this the cell is keeping on dividing repeatedly and forming many daughter cells, and when the conditions get favorable, what is happening? This cyst, it breaks open. So it is breaking open, releasing the daughter cells, and each daughter cell, the small daughter cell, they grow into an individual daughter cell. So they grow into one individual new organism, and this is called multiple fission. And thus in multiple fission we can say that many individuals are formed by splitting of a single parent. So single parent was there like this. Under unfavorable condition, they are producing a cyst. Inside the cyst, what is happening? Many daughter cells are being produced, and as soon as they get a favorable condition, these all daughter cells are released, and each daughter cell is giving rise to one individual organism. And thus we can say that in multiple fission, many individuals are formed by splitting of a single parent. So we can say that by splitting of a single parent, many individual cells are formed. Okay, is it clear? Many individual cells are being formed, and this is mainly, it is formed in many unicellular algae, such as we can say that this, we can say the example of chlorella and chlamydomonas. So in these unicellular algae, we are seeing this process of multiple fission. Is it clear? Now we will move on with the next type of asexual reproduction, that is budding. Now here in budding, it is the third type of process which we are seeing now. First we have seen binary fission, then multiple fission, and now it's budding. So in budding, what is happening? A small bulb-like outgrowth which is called as a bud. It appears on the body of the organism. So you can see that a bulb-like outgrowth, it is formed at the outside of the organism. So the bud develops into a new organism, and finally it gets detached. So this is forming a new organism, and finally it gets detached from the parents and leads an independent life. Thus budding is actually seen in yeast, which is a fungus. So this budding is actually, it's seen in a fungus or yeast. We can see the bud is formed. The bud is actually separating from the mother cell, and a new individual yeast cell is formed. Now we will move on to fragmentation. Now this is fragmentation. You see in this diagram what is happening. Now in this fragmentation, the body of an organism breaks into two parts. We can say that the body of the organism is breaking into fragments. It is breaking into two or more parts, and each fragment they develop and grow into complete separate individual. And this filamentous algae such as Spirogyra, they reproduce by this method. So as Spirogyra, that is a filamentous algae, right? It is a filamentous algae. So it is a filamentous algae, Spirogyra. So this process is actually appropriate for Spirogyra, which is already a filamentous algae, and these filaments are easy to be broken into fragments. Many fragments they are being broken into, and each fragment they grow into a new individual again. Now next comes the spore formation. What is spore formation? Actually, sometimes some bacteria, fungi, mosses and ferns, they reproduce by the formation of spores. So what are these? These spores are actually, these are tiny spherical unicellular bodies which are protected by thick walls. So these are tiny spherical bodies which are protected by thick walls, and they are formed inside the spore sacs. Now during favorable condition, each spore they develop into a new individual, and they are released from the spore and bread mold or rhizopus. We can see that this is a bread mold or rhizopus which reproduces by the spore formation. So these spores are formed and they keep on reproducing with this spore formation, and these spores they develop into, when they burst open, they spores develops into new individual. Okay, and they are released from the spore sac. When they are released from these hard spore sac, they are sustaining their life as a new individual. Now we will move on to vegetative propagation. Now we are here with the vegetative propagation. So what is vegetative propagation? The development of a new plant from, we can say that from the vegetative plants of parts of a plant, such as the root, stem or leaf of a parent plant, is called vegetative propagation. So the new plant is developing from the vegetative parts, that is either the stem or the root or the leaf of a parent plant, is called vegetative propagation. Now it takes place in plants which do not produce seeds or whose seeds cannot germinate. So it is generally taking place in plants whose seeds are unable to germinate or who do not produce seeds at all. And this is a typical form of asexual reproduction, as no fusion of gametes and no seeds are formed in this method. Now vegetative propagation, they can occur either naturally or can be done by artificial methods. So this is a type of propagation which can done either by natural methods like cutting of roots, stem, leaves or something like that, or by any artificial methods, that is the methods which are being done with the help of a man. Or human involvement is always there when we are taking the artificial methods. Now first method of vegetative propagation is by the underground stem. So first, when we are taking the underground stem, we are taking that and this tuber. These tubers are these potato we have taken, that these are swollen fleshy underground stems. We can say that these are swollen fleshy underground stems. Potato tuber has many small buds or eyes. So these are potato tubers. They are having many buds or eyes, and each of which can grow into a new plant. So these are eyes in a potato tuber. So this is a potato tuber, and these eyes, they can give rise to many new individual plants. So this is tuber. Okay, these are tuber and this is a potato tuber. This is an example of an underground stem. Now this is what? This is rhizome, and this is what is rhizome? This is also, we can say that this is a short branched underground stem. So this is also a short branched underground stem. This is called rhizome, and it is having distinct nodes and internodes. It is having distinct nodes and internodes, and which are bearing buds, and they can grow into new plants. Now this is mainly where we are finding this. This is seen in ginger. It is we can see this is ginger, banana and canna grow from rhizome. So ginger, banana and canna, they grow from rhizome. So they are short branched and they are underground stem. These all are underground, part of underground stem. So first one was tuber. This one is also underground stem. This is rhizome, and next to this we will get corm. So next one is corm. This is also an underground stem. Corm is also an underground stem. So this is also underground stem, and it is actually, it is thickened, it is round and it is swollen. It is having a swollen base. So it is also thickened, round, and it is having a swollen base, and they are having scale leaves. They are having scale leaves. They all are having scale leaves, and it has one or more buds that grow into new plants. So these one or more buds, they grow into new plants. Okay. they grow into new plants, and we can tell that this example is of gladiolus. So gladiolus is a flowering plant which is growing from this underground stem like corm. They are having swollen base, they are having scales, and one birds these are we can say that one or more buds are there which are growing into new plants. Now next comes the bulb. So bulb, this onion, we can see that it is also an underground stem. This is onion, it is also an underground stem, and it is growing into this underground stem, and it is having a with the stem with bud, and there are membranous scales here inside. You can see that these are all membranous scales present inside this onion. So other than onion, what kinds of plants are having this bulb? We can say that tulips, you can see tulips are having bulbs. Tulips are having bulbs. Garlic, it is also having bulb. Lilies are having bulb. So these, when you take out these plants, you can see that these are underground stems having bulbs, like garlic, lilies, tulips, onion. They all are having bulbs, and from they are having scale leaves, and with a bud and membranous leaves, they are called scale leaves. So these are only these scaly leaves. These scale leaves, when you are seeing from these, only new plants will grow. Now from onion, you can see that if you are keeping onion for a long time in your shelf, you can see that the green leaves will grow from these scales itself. So these are scaly leaves. So the onion grows into a new plant itself. The potato also, the tubers, if you keep in the rainy season for a long period of time in your shelf, that eyes, you will see that full of eyes, white eyes will come out, and from that only new plants may grow. So these are all the methods of vegetative propagation by natural method. Now these are all forms of underground stem. Now we will move on to the aerial stem part. So let us move on to the aerial stem part. Now previously we were studying about by underground stem. So there we have already studied about tuber, rhizome, corm and bulb. Now here we are going to study about the aerial stem. So aerial stem, what it is actually, in some plants like strawberry, a slender branch, you can see that a slender branch is arising here. So this branch, what is it doing? It is arising from the base of one stem, and it bends and touches the soil, and it is moving to the next, touching the soil and moving on to the next stem. Now it develops roots and buds at the point of contact with the soil. So where it is contacting the soil, suppose this is from this plant, it is moving to this plant. So at the point of contact to the soil, it is producing roots, buds at this point of contact to the soil, and from there again a new plant, it is growing. So the point at which it is contacting the soil, it is developing into roots and buds, and from that point only a new plant is being developed. Now in some grasses also, such as mint, the stem grows along the soil, and at intervals of these root intervals, they are giving rise to new plants. When the new plant is mature enough, the stem joining the new plant, it withers away and the plant grows on its own. So we can say that what is happening, these sections of these stems, when these plant is mature enough to grow into a new plant again, these parts, they wither away and the plant grows on its own into a new plant. So this is the process by the aerial stem. Now we will move on to this method by root. So by root, you can see that plants like sweet potato, dahlia, they have fresh tuberous roots. So these are what? These are all fresh tuberous roots. So these are all tuberous roots. Okay. So the plants, namely, we can say sweet potato and dahlia. So these are examples, right? Sweet potato and dahlia, flowering plant, right? They have tuberous roots and with adventitious buds. So tuberous roots with adventitious buds are there. So these buds, when they are detached and planted in soil, so when they are detached and they are planted in soil, they can give rise to new plants. So when they are detached from this one and they are planted in soil, they give rise to new plants. This is about the root. So they are mainly present in sweet potato, dahlia and all. Now we will move on to leaves. Now here we are vegetative propagation by leaves. So by the aerial stem we have done, by root we have done, by leaves. So what is happening here? Now here we have taken the example of bryophyllum. So this is the bryophyllum leaf, right? This is the bryophyllum leaf, and this leaf is having adventitious buds at the margin of their leaf. So what is happening when these leaves are falling on the ground? They are giving rise to small plantlets. So what are those plantlets? They are small plants only, and this fleshy leaf, that is giving supply of food and water to those plantlets as they are growing. Now these plantlets, they grow into independent plants on separation from the leaf. So when they are growing into individual plants, these big leaves, they'll decay off. So their function is over, their food and water supply is over, and now the plantlets have grown into individual plants. So this is how, by leaves, how this vegetative propagation methods are happening. So this is all regarding vegetative propagation methods by natural methods. Now we will move on to the vegetative propagation by artificial methods in the next episode, in the next video, because this is quite a vast topic where you need to understand a lot. If you are overlapping one topic with the other, you will be getting confused. So till today we are completing this vegetative propagation by natural method. In tomorrow's topic we will be discussing about vegetative propagation by artificial methods. So till then, subscribe to my channel, stay tuned, stay updated with whatever I am posting, and please, till now, whatever lessons I have posted and whatever I have told in this lesson, go through it thoroughly so that when I come up with the next lesson, it will be easier for you to learn that topic. Okay, thank you.